Welcome, colleagues, to the first edition of the our program about how much do you know about payments? This program is part of the Innovation in Pavement Design project where we will share information that you should know about the payment design in a different and fun. Good evening, my name is Frank Morales.
My name is Carmen Esparza.
And my name is Joel Tacuri.
We are students of the civil engineer career at the Universidad Técnica Particular de Loja, and today we will talk about a very important topic, which is the performance of the payment. In this time, together, we will talk about some important topics about it.
Indeed, we are very eager to talk about these issues, and we invite you to stay tuned for the valuable information we will share with all of you.
Thanks, Joel. Carmen, welcome.
Greetings to all people who listen to us. This time, I am happy to be in the first program of engineering. Get ready because today we will talk about very interesting topics.
Well, we all know that being a payment has a certain roughness according to its material, but we have also seen in a lot of the sky accidents on the roads. One of the most common questions among the students is what are the factors at generating these kind accidents? And what are the characteristics for the design of a new payment? Carmen, can you tell me about it?
It is a good question. The required surface friction must be provided on a pavement so that loss of control does not occur in normally expected situations when the pavement is wet. For accident reduction, each engineer should identify and correct sections of roadway with high or potentially high sky accident incidents and ensure that new surfaces have adequate, durable sky resistant properties. But the pavement is just only one element of a multiple component system, and the four major elements are the driver, the roadway, and the bike.
Definitely, it's important to point out that the friction demand of the pavement is very great because depend on the speed of a vehicle, the design, or the condition of the braking system. One of the main generators of accidents is the weather, especially wave pavement, where the thickness of the water film in the pavement is high.
Also, it's important to explain that factors affecting the sky accident is the inadequate cross slope, which retains water on the pavement for a longer time, reduce friction, and increase the thickness of the water layer and the potential for hydroplaning. Another factor is rotting, which holds water in the wheel pads after rain and causes hydroplaning.
You are right, Joel. Now, what are the kind received characteristics for a new payment?
The sky resistance of wearing surface depends both on the aggregate and on the mixture characteristics. First, we have the characteristic of the aggregate, which are such as the ability of the aggregate to resist the polish and wear actions of traffic has long been recognized as the most important characteristic. The shape of the aggregate particle significantly affects its skid resistant properties. And finally, the size of the aggregate has considerable effect on the skid resistance.
In addition, we have the characteristics of concrete pavements. These pavements can increase their skid resistance by means of the treatments to the concrete layer, such as concrete surface may be rounded, by mechanical means to improve their skid resistance. Also, grooving is the process of cutting shallow, narrow channels on the concrete surface by using a series of routine diamond show blades.
Well, in summary, the most important thing to remember is that for the required displacement resist, we should the rollers must be engraved, and for this we can apply in a welding on a thread on a steel shoot, and the high operating machine have been used to cut into the pavement surface with the varying degrees.
Well, continuing with the main topic of this evening. Now, I would like to talk about non-destructive deflation testing. Colleagues, do you know what about I'm talking?
Yeah, my friend, I know deflation measurement have a long been used to evaluate the structural capacity of the situ pavement.
Great, Ryan. And you, Carmen, what can you tell me about it?
Well, I know they can be used to back calculate the elastic moduli of various pavement components, evaluate the load transfer efficiency across joints and cracks concrete pavements, and also determine the location and extent of a void under concrete slabs.
Perfect, Carmen. And for that, many devices are being used to perform non-destructive testing of payments. However, only devices that measure deflection are discussed. Other non-destructive testing involving the use of wave propagation, impact hammer, ground penetrating radar, and impedance device are not present.
Also, it's important to explain that there are three kinds based on the type of the loading applied to the pavement. Deflation testing can be divided into the three categories: static or slowly moving, steady state vibration, and impulse load.
Of the first category, the Benkelman beam, California traveling deflectometer, and Lacroix deflectometer are the best known device in the category. But the Benkelman beam is perhaps the best known deflection measuring device in the world.
Definitely, Karen, it is consists essentially of the measurement probe hidden to the refresh beam support and the three legs.
But the most serious problem with this device is the difficulty of obtaining an inamovable reference for making deflation measurements. This makes the validity of their use on stiff payments questionable. So let's move on the second type, steady state vibration.
In this category, Dynaflex and Rod Raider are the best known devices, and the deflections are generated by vibratory devices that impose a sinusoidal dynamic force over a static force, and the deflections are measured by accelerators or velocity sensors.
In addition, one downbite of this type of equipment over the static equipment is that a reference point is not required.
But Frank, the disadvantages of this method are that the actual loads applied to payments are not in the form of a steady state vibration and that the use of relatively low static load could be have some effect on the behaviors of stress sensitive materials.
You're right, I did not consider that the point is up to you.
Well, college, what do you think if we finish this topic by talking about impulsing loads?
Perfect. We start emphasizing that all devices that will deliver a transient force impulse to the payment surface, such as the various type of falling weight deflectometers, are included in this category.
Right. Also, by varying of the amount of the weight and the height of rock, different impulse force can be generated.
And how is the operation? Could you explain to the public, please?
Of course, The normal operation is to move the trailer-mounted device to the test location, lower the loading plate and transducer hydraulically to the pavement surface, complete the test sequences by dropping the weight at each height select, lift the loading plate and sensors, and tow device to next site.
And about the advantage, Frank, can you tell something?
Of course, college, the major advantage of the impulse loading device are the ability to model in a moving wheels load accordingly in about magnitude and duration, and the use of the relative small static load compared with impulsive loading.
So, for an up with the main topic, I would like to know your opinion about pavement performance.
I think about that the evaluation of the payment performance is an important part of the payment design, rehabilitation, and the management.
Yes, Frank, is the most important, but the evaluation of distress, roughness, friction, and structure too.
I want to tell you the pavement evaluation and rehabilitation are not exact science. They depend to a large extent on past experience and engineering judgments.
It's true, Carmen. There are two different types of the cumulative deterministic and the heuristic. Joel, what do you tell us about the cognitive deterministic?
Well, I know what the deterministic knowledge is that the body of actual information that is widely accepted and can be obtained from textbooks or published literature.
Frank, what do you tell us about the heuristic knowledge?
Good question, Carmen. I know juristic colleagues is the subject or private knowledge possessed by each individual which is learning characterized by belief, opinion, and the rules of thumb.
That is great, Frank and Joel. Their answers are correct. Has any one of you heard the term sceptre?
Yes, Carmen, is the acronym for Surface Condition Expert for Payment Rehabilitation. It was developed for use by the Washington Department of Transportation to evaluate pavement surface, distress, and recommend feasible rehabilitation strategies for the tile analysis and design.
One very important thing is that it is applicable only to flexible payments.
Also, the types of surface distress to be considered include longitudinal cracking in wheel pads, alligator cracking in wheel pads, block cracking, transverse and longitudinal cracking outside wheel pads, and rotting.
Tell me, guys, what can it be the solution or rehabilitations and maintains strategies from by spectre feasible of the distress?
There are some Carmen, but the better rehabilitation and maintenance strategies ones are do nothing, food seal, chip seal, double chip seal, NIM HMI overlay, medium HMA overlay, the ticket overlay, the fillet tracks, reconstruction, and recycle.
Thanks, guys. I totally unaware.
A curious fact is that the various equations mostly based on regression analysis were developed for predicting payment performance, but their usefulness in practice might be limited by the scope of the database what used in their development.
Guys, they knew what the major filter modes for flexible pavements are fatigue cracking, rooting, and low temperature cracking.
Good knowledge, friends. It is all for today. We hope you like this kind of programs and we will continue to upload more programs like that. See
See
you
you
See you
soon.
soon.
soon.